Episode 3. Dangerous Ground. The cab's interior felt suddenly claustrophobic. Alex stared at the anonymous text, her thumb hovering over the delete button, even as her barrister's instincts kicked in. Evidence. This was evidence. She screenshotted the message, then forwarded it to her personal email with the subject line, "Urgent, Chambers Security." Her hands trembled slightly as she typed. The cab pulled up outside her Holborn building. Alex paid with her phone, barely registering the amount, and hurried inside. The fourth-floor walk-up had never felt longer. Once inside her flat, she locked the door, engaged the chain, and leaned against the wood, breathing hard. Her phone buzzed. Marcus. Home safe? Still thinking about that kiss. The warmth that flooded through her felt obscene given the circumstances. She wanted to call him, to hear his voice, to feel the safety of his attention. Instead, she typed, home. Today was perfect. See you tomorrow for brunch? His response came immediately. 11 a.m. I'll pick you up. Sleep well, Alexandra. She wouldn't sleep well. Not with that text burning in her mind. Alex poured herself 2 fingers of Lafroig, neat, and settled onto her sofa with her laptop. The Thornton case files were backed up on her encrypted personal drive, Richard's suggestion after the first hint of a leak. She pulled up the access logs Sarah had provided earlier that week. Sarah Winters. 26, brilliant, hungry. Alex had been exactly like her 5 years ago when Richard had taken her under his wing. Sarah had the same first-class Oxford degree, the same relentless work ethic, the same desire to prove herself in a profession still dominated by men from the right schools with the right connections. The access logs showed Sarah had reviewed the Thornton files 17 times in the past month. Normal for a junior associate assisting on a major case. But 3 of those accesses had occurred after 11 p.m. and 2 on weekends. Alex herself worked those hours regularly. It proved nothing. She opened a separate file, the timeline of leaked information. The first leak had occurred 6 weeks ago, details about their witness list that had somehow reached the defense before the official disclosure deadline. The second leak, 3 weeks ago, involved their litigation strategy for the preliminary motions. The third, just last week, had been the most damaging, their entire deposition strategy for the key witnesses. Each leak had occurred within 48 hours of Sarah accessing the relevant files. Correlation wasn't causation. Alex knew that, but it was enough to make her stomach turn. Her phone rang. Richard Morrison. Sir? Alex? I know it's late, but I just received some concerning information. His voice was tight, controlled. Can you come to Chambers tomorrow? I realize it's Sunday, but this can't wait. The warmth from Marcus's text evaporated entirely. What time? 9 o'clock. And Alex, come alone. Don't mention this to anyone. He disconnected before she could respond. Alex set down her glass, the whiskey untouched now. 9 o'clock Sunday morning meant canceling brunch with Marcus, or showing up late, distracted, with the weight of this crisis hanging over her. She thought about the anonymous text. You should be more careful about who you trust. Who had sent it? Someone warning her? Or someone threatening her? Alex pulled up her contacts and scrolled to Sophie Chen's name. If anyone could trace an anonymous text, it would be Sophie. But involving her meant involving Natasha, and Natasha would worry, would ask questions Alex couldn't answer. She set the phone down and returned to her laptop. The Thornton fraud case was the biggest of her career. Jeremy Thornton, a venture capitalist who'd built an empire on fabricated returns and Ponzi scheme mechanics, had defrauded investors of nearly £80 million. The evidence was solid. Bank records, emails, testimony from former employees. But Thornton's legal team, led by the formidable Patricia Ashworth of Chambers Silk, had been systematically dismantling their case with uncanny precision. Because someone was feeding them information. Alex's phone buzzed again, this time a text from Natasha. How was the date? I want details. Alex smiled despite herself. She typed, Perfect, he's perfect, I'm terrified. Good terrified or bad terrified, both. Seeing him again tomorrow. What? Already? This is moving fast for you. Babes, I know, don't jinx it. Never. But seriously, are you okay? You sound off. Just work stuff, I'll tell you about it Monday. A lie, but a necessary one. Alex closed her laptop and carried her whiskey to the bedroom. She undressed mechanically, hanging her dress in the closet, and pulled on an old Oxford t-shirt. In the bathroom mirror, her reflection looked haunted. The woman who'd kissed Marcus Ashford in the rain just hours ago seemed like a stranger. She climbed into bed and stared at the ceiling, her mind racing. If Sarah was the leak, confronting her directly would be disastrous. She'd lawyer up, the firm would be forced to conduct a formal investigation, and the case would be compromised even further. But if Sarah wasn't the leak, and Alex destroyed her career over circumstantial evidence, her phone buzzed one more time. Another unknown number. Sleep well, Alexandra. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. Alex sat up, her heart hammering. This wasn't the same number as the earlier text. She screenshotted it immediately and forwarded it to her personal email. Someone was watching her. Someone knew her schedule, her movements, her vulnerabilities. She thought about Marcus, about the way he'd looked at her in the restaurant, the way he'd kissed her in the rain. For the first time in 3 years, she'd let someone in. And now, with this crisis exploding around her, she'd have to push him away again, or risk dragging him into whatever dangerous game she'd stumbled into. Sunday morning arrived with gray light and steady rain. Alex woke at 6 a.m. after 3 hours of fitful sleep, her mind already spinning through scenarios. She showered, dressed in jeans and a cashmere sweater, weekend casual but still professional, and made coffee she couldn't taste. At 8:15, she texted Marcus. Something's come up at work. Can we push brunch to 1 p.m.? I'm so sorry. His response came while she was locking her flat. No apologies necessary. Work is work. 1 p.m. it is. Everything okay? Will be. See you soon. Another lie. They were accumulating. The cab ride to Morrison and Blackwood's chambers in Holborn took 15 minutes through empty Sunday streets. The building, a converted Georgian townhouse near Lincoln's Inn Fields, looked imposing in the gray light. Alex used her key card to access the main entrance and took the stairs to the 3rd floor, where Richard's office overlooked the square. He was waiting, standing by the window with a cup of coffee. At 58, Richard Morrison still carried himself like the rugby player he'd been at Cambridge, solid, grounded, immovable, but this morning he looked older. Tired. Alex, thank you for coming. You said it couldn't wait. He gestured to the leather chair across from his desk. Sit, please. She sat, her spine straight, her hands folded in her lap. Barrister posture. Richard remained standing. I received a call last night from Patricia Ashworth. Alex's stomach dropped. Patricia Ashworth was lead counsel for Jeremy Thornton. What did she want? To inform me as a professional courtesy that she's in possession of documents she believes were obtained illegally from our chambers. Richard's voice was carefully neutral. Documents that detail our entire litigation strategy for the Thornton case. What kind of documents? Internal memos, case notes, your personal assessment of witness credibility. He finally looked at her. She's threatening to file a complaint with the Bar Standards Board unless we can prove the leak came from outside our firm. Alex's mind raced. She's bluffing. If she files a complaint, she'll have to admit she's in possession of stolen materials. That taints her entire case. Unless she can claim she received them anonymously, with no knowledge of their origin. Richard sat down heavily. Which is exactly what she's claiming. Then we trace the source. Sophie Chen could. No. Richard's voice was sharp. We keep this internal. The moment we involve outsiders, this becomes a scandal. The firm's reputation would be destroyed. So what do you want me to do? Richard opened a drawer and pulled out a thick folder. These are the communications logs for everyone with access to the Thornton files. I need you to review them. Find the pattern. Find the leak. Sir, I'm not an investigator. I'm a barrister. You're the best analytical mind in this firm, and you know this case better than anyone. He pushed the folder across the desk. I'm not asking you to be an investigator. I'm asking you to do what you do best. Find the weakness in the opposition's case. Except this time, the opposition is one of us. Alex took the folder. It was heavy, substantial. How long do I have? Patricia has given us until end of business Tuesday. 72 hours. Richard's expression was grim. If we can't identify the leak and prove it's been contained, she files her complaint. The bar opens an investigation. The Thornton case collapses, and this firm's credibility is destroyed. No pressure, then. Richard almost smiled. You've handled worse. Had she? Alex couldn't remember when. She stood, clutching the folder. I'll need access to the server logs. and I'll need to interview the associates who've worked on this case. Carefully, Richard warned. If word gets out that we're conducting an internal investigation, it could spook whoever's responsible, or it could flush them out. Richard studied her for a long moment. You received threatening texts last night, didn't you? Alex froze. How did you? Because I received one too. He pulled out his phone and showed her the screen. Richard Morrison thinks he's so clever, but some secrets are too big to bury. The same tone, the same threatening ambiguity. Who else knows about the investigation? Alex asked. Just us. And Patricia Ashworth, apparently. Richard pocketed his phone. Which means either the leak is monitoring our communications or the leak is Patricia Ashworth's source, and they're trying to intimidate us into backing off. Richard nodded slowly. Be careful, Alex. Whoever this is, they're not playing games. Alex left his office with the folder under her arm and a sense of dread settling in her chest. The building felt different now. Not a sanctuary of professional achievement, but a place where trust had been violated, where someone she worked with daily was systematically betraying everything they claimed to stand for. In the elevator, she pulled out her phone and checked the time. 9:47 a.m. She had 3 hours before meeting Marcus. She thought about canceling entirely. How could she sit across from him, pretend everything was fine when her career was imploding? But the thought of not seeing him felt worse. Alex stepped out into the rain and hailed a cab. She gave the driver her home address, then opened the folder Richard had given her. The first document was a spreadsheet of file access logs. Sarah Winter's name appeared frequently, but so did others, including Alex's own. The second document was a series of email chains discussing case strategy. The third was more interesting, a log of after-hours building access. Someone had entered chambers at 2:37 a.m. last Tuesday. The keycard used belonged to Sarah Winters. Alex's hands tightened on the paper. Sarah lived in Bethnal Green, a 40-minute journey from Chambers. What possible reason would she have for being in the office at 2:37 in the morning, unless she was photographing documents, copying files, meeting someone? The cab pulled up outside Alex's building. She paid and hurried inside, her mind already formulating questions, strategies, approaches. Inside her flat, she spread the documents across her dining table and began to build a timeline. Every access, every email, every after-hours entry. Patterns emerged. Sarah's access spiked before each leak, but so did activity from 2 other junior associates. Alex's phone buzzed. Marcus, looking forward to seeing you. Where should I pick you up? She typed her address, then stared at the screen. She should cancel. She should spend the afternoon buried in these files, tracking down the leak, protecting her career. But when Marcus texted back, see you at 1 p.m., wear something comfortable. I'm taking you somewhere special. She found herself smiling despite everything. Maybe she could have both. Maybe she could solve this crisis and still hold on to the fragile, terrifying thing growing between them. Or maybe she was about to lose everything. At 12:45, Alex changed into dark jeans, ankle boots, and a soft gray sweater. She left her hair down, applied minimal makeup, and stared at her reflection. The woman looking back at her appeared calm, collected, ready for a casual Sunday date. The woman inside was screaming. Her phone buzzed. Downstairs. Alex grabbed her jacket and bag, took one last look at the documents spread across her table, and headed down. Marcus was waiting beside a sleek black Range Rover, looking unfairly attractive in jeans and a navy sweater. When he saw her, his face lit up with a smile that made her chest ache. Hey, he said, pulling her into a kiss that tasted like coffee and promise. Hey yourself. She pulled back, studying his face. You own a Range Rover? Borrowed from Daniel. I figured we'd need it for where we're going. He opened the passenger door. Trust me? Should I? Probably not, but do it anyway. Alex climbed in, and Marcus closed the door behind her. As he rounded the vehicle to the driver's side, she caught sight of a figure across the street, a woman in a dark coat watching. The woman turned away quickly, disappearing into a coffee shop. Alex's heart hammered. Had she imagined it? Was she becoming paranoid? Marcus slid into the driver's seat. You okay? You look pale. Just tired. Didn't sleep well. He reached over and took her hand. Then let me take your mind off whatever's bothering you. Deal? She wanted to tell him everything. The leak, the texts, the investigation, the woman across the street. Instead, she squeezed his hand and said, "Deal." As they pulled into traffic, Alex's phone buzzed one more time. Another unknown number. "Enjoy your date, Alexandra. Make the most of it." She stared at the message, ice flooding her veins. Someone was watching, right now, following her. And they wanted her to know it.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.